Have you been to a restaurant recently? What about to the gas pump? Or maybe you've even thought about buying a TV? If you've said yes to any of these things, then you might have noticed something that's a little bit worrisome. Prices for goods is rising across the board. Nearly every good and resource available is hiking in price, and there are many things to blame for this, from government entities to public figures, and even the response rate to COVID-19 is partly responsible. I've been paying attention to the movement of the economy, rather the lack of it, and the spending habits of the federal government since the beginning of the pandemic. And I would say that there is more than enough evidence to suggest that we are facing down a recession at the very least. There is hope though, because there are many ways to secure your savings and prepare yourself for whatever may happen next. So, inflation of the US dollar and the mass disruption of logistics chains worldwide has resulted in rising prices. But this can be combated on the personal level by investing specifically in cryptocurrency. But first, before we delve into the solution, we must first explore the problem in depth. Inflation, according to Merriam-Webster, is defined as a continuing rise in the general price level, usually attributed to an increase in the volume of money and credit relative to available goods and services. This seems like a lengthy and somewhat complicated definition, but what it essentially is saying is that the purchasing power of the dollar decreases with how much of that dollar is in circulation. So right now, inflation is rising, and rising fast. According to data gathered by inflationdata.com, the current inflation rate is about 4.2%. It's actually reaching and surpassing the levels of inflation experienced during the 2008 recession. Combined with this factor is the massive demands for goods that are sweeping the world. Demand for vegetables and meat is up as restaurants open back up. Because people are driving to work again, the price of corn is up tremendously because corn is an important ingredient of ethanol. Because people bought TVs and computers and gaming consoles throughout the pandemic, the demand for chips is still far higher than can be possibly kept up with. So the issues here are clear, but the causes actually stem from a variety of issues that all culminate in one thing, which is making life more expensive for you and for me. So let's break them down. The money printers have been running hot for a while now. In the last year alone, the M1 money the supply of US dollars in circulation increased from around 4 to around $18 trillion, according to the Federal Reserve, which is the entity that actually prints the dollars. An increase in the money supply directly translates to the inflation of the currency. Combine this with the idea of a possible fourth stimulus check and the new $6 trillion yearly budget proposed by the Biden administration, and quite frankly, the US dollar doesn't stand a chance. Even Russia is dropping it from their fund as confidence in the currency just plummets. Despite the economy largely opening back up, labor shortages can also be seen nationwide. Because there's no one to work, there's nothing being produced. Yet people's bank accounts are being lined with cash due to unemployment benefits. But there's nothing to spend it on because nothing is being made. This essentially creates a bidding war for the limited resources that are being made available. So, by extending unemployment and even giving thousands of dollars worth of tax credit to the unemployed, the Biden administration is essentially incentivizing staying out of the labor market, ensuring that supplies stay low as demand for all goods climbs tremendously. This is stretching the logistics chains so thin that it threatens to destroy the entire system, or at least shut it down temporarily. So, the issue is complicated and it's multifaceted. To properly save yourself from the ever-rising prices, which will engulf us for at least the next year, but I suspect much longer, your approach too must be multifaceted. There are no solutions you and I can enact to save the economy, really. I mean, nothing short of widespread protest would stop the government from printing any more money, and really good luck with that. But you can save yourself by investing the money you do have, so you're not sitting on a pile of cash that will continue to drop in value as time goes on. There are many ways to store value: metals like gold and silver, precious metals, things we know of, land, tools, many other physical assets, but I would actually recommend that you turn your eye to something else: cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin. Bitcoin is unique in that it is a decentralized currency where every transaction is listed on a public ledger known as the blockchain. It has no ruling parties. Every exchange can be tracked. It's nearly impossible to edit or change information in the ledger, and there's a finite amount. Therefore, it's nearly incorruptible. This means that as long as we decide to continue to decide that it has value, it will be maintained as an asset, and an asset that cannot be devalued artificially like the fiat currencies that we currently use. Think of it like digital gold, and try telling anyone that will stop deciding gold has any value. It's just not going to happen. So, to be frank, I can't really give you any financial advice. I can only point to the data and suggest that you save yourself from whatever is coming next. As students, we can't really buy land. I mean, it's just too expensive, and honestly, don't have the time to keep up with it. And gold is not all that practical, but starting a personal brokerage account with, say, Webull or Robinhood, and dropping $100 into a cryptocurrency takes just a few minutes. So, to summarize, rising prices brought about by inflation caused by mass printing and the disruption of supply chains brought about by the COVID-19 response are hurting the American people. But there are precautions we can take to make sure that our money is secure moving forward. We can invest, and crypto is the most convenient asset and has the brightest future. Now, really, I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of the issues that are playing out right now. There are many issues, even just in the economic sector, that are plaguing individual industries that are hurting their ability to supply, like the cyber attacks on the Colonial Oil Pipeline and JBS, the world's largest meat supplier. But I'm hoping that I was able to cover enough information here from the problems that we're facing, the causes of the problems, and a possible solution that you and I can make logical decisions moving forward that might be able to save us from whatever's next. Thank you.